Hello everybody, this is Hollywood Matt Connolly. Welcome to the Daily Combat Podcast. She is back today. She's finally made it. We found her. She's been in the mist, in the wild, in the shadows. She's finally been tracked down, harder to find than Santa Claus. It is Isabella Rossitano, the girl who's doing about 50 things at once. Literally, what did you do? 70K walk yesterday?
70K started as a run, actually. It was a run walk.
Right.
It definitely ended as a walk.
As a
the
crawl.
last 35 kilometres were a crawl.
God, what were you doing?
It was very painful.
Was
I
this
can tell
part
you
of, like, when you just decided, I want to go for 70Ks?
Well, the longest story, the explanation for why I decided to do a 70-kilometre run walk, I'm not quite sure what to call it. A run walk is probably
run
the
walk,
most.
yeah,
a
sure.
run walk is what it was. Was because I was meant to go shark diving this week.
Oh yes, that's
Yes,
right. And it
I
got
had a
cancelled.
job.
The sharks have COVID. They can't get near the
Well,
people. That's 1.5 meters. Or
Exactly.
something.
That's
Right.
the excuse they're running with. But I've also heard that they were too scared of me.
Of course. That
yeah.
right hook.
Yeah,
It's,
exactly. They were scared.
they
They
knew
were
it was
scared.
coming. Oh, hang on.
Exactly. So what happened was I had a job. I came down earlier to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
And then unfortunately for me, that job was postponed because someone did not have a COVID vaccination. So someone involved in the video crew. So my job was pretty much to pretend to be a tourist. Not much pretending because I haven't been to Port Lincoln.
Right. Yeah.
Well, not at an age that I can remember it. Anyway.
Right.
But anyway, I was going to go shark diving, and I
Right.
thought, Mike Tyson liked sharks. It'll be good for my mentality.
Yeah.
I'm scared of sharks.
Are you?
Yeah.
I think it's a good reason to be scared of sharks.
Yeah, they're very large with very large teeth, and
Yeah.
they generally do like to eat people. I mean, to be fair, we shouldn't be in the habitat. I agree with all of that.
Right.
But even so, in their habitat, or even if they were land sharks,
Yes.
I would still be scared of them.
The old land shark. So we got to watch out for them.
I don't think many people know about the land sharks.
No.
Like, people have heard of drop bears, but land sharks.
I was going to drop bears as well. That was my train of thought. I think I picked up on you there. So yeah, the land shark and the drop bears. If you're watching from the US, you've got to definitely watch out for both of those things. They are real and they will eat you and your family. So
Yeah, I don't think that land sharks are spoken about as widely as drop bears are.
not quite.
Yeah, so we should probably tell the audience about
Yeah,
the
go
land
ahead.
sharks.
Sure. Let's hear the
Okay.
attributes of a land shark.
So the land shark derived from the great white shark. It's a very dangerous animal because, as you can imagine, it's a shark, but it goes on the land.
Right. Oh, have you seen Sharknado?
I have not seen
Well,
Sharknado.
have you heard of Sharknado?
I have heard of Sharknado.
Yes,
Were
that's-
they land sharks?
They became land sharks not through their own accord,
okay.
but because of the tornado. It was a tornado filled with sharks, and
So is this a documentary on land sharks?
it's definitely a documentary with Tara Reid and
Oh, yeah.
the guy from 90210.
Oh, yeah.
All those like D-list actors.
Yeah.
They got on board for a documentary that was scripted and
Okay, yeah.
it was really bad, and they made about 4 sequels to it as well.
Really?
Yes, it was ridiculous. I didn't watch it. I saw the trailer. I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is.
Well, I'm just surprised that, I feel like there should be more awareness about land sharks. in Cairns, they're quite prolific.
Ah.
There's a large quantity of them living in Cairns. They're like the tropics
Right.
because it's the humidity. It's a bit like better because they're land sharks. They still need the water.
It's it's a bit easier to sunbake. They can wear the sunglasses. It's
It
that
is.
sort of environment.
Yeah, exactly.
When they've got the time off, they'll go and lay on the beach.
They will. I mean, they're quite good at, just pretending to be normal sharks
Right.
too. But
Yeah.
yeah, there you go.
Right. So the official sharks, the real, well, not the real, the original
Yeah, the original,
sharks.
the less evolutionized.
That's right. That trip didn't go ahead. That's why you're here today. We managed to track you down and get you in studio finally. 'Cause I
Yeah.
think we've been every month or two, it's like, oh, where are you? And you're like, I'm in New Zealand. Oh, I'm in here. I'm over here. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. It's like, how are you doing all these things? You are doing about 50 things at once, like I said at the start of the show.
And the whole time, I've missed you guys.
Oh, there you
I've missed
go.
everybody here.
That's it.
You're right. I've come back just today. Just landed here. Oh, that's quite large.
That was good. That was
strong.
strong.
As you can hear, my power
That was
has amplified.
The boxer
That was
strength.
the boxer strength. The training I've been doing this year has really paid off on the table. But you know what? It is Christmas time, and unfortunately, Matt and Roman aren't able to join us today. But
yes, Matt is able to join you, but Dave wasn't.
When I said Matt, I meant Dave. Wait, you're telling me your name is Matt and not Dave this whole time?
The whole time.
I thought you were Dave.
I am Dave when I have the beard, but I'm not when I don't.
You took the beard off.
I did.
I'm sorry, Dave. As you can see, being a boxer has also hurt my head. I've had issues with memory. Now I've got issues with saying things. Like I actually will go to say something and I'll put a different word in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like shark? Like land shark?
Yeah, like land shark. All right, okay. But nonetheless, I bought a Christmas present.
Wow. Okay, cool.
From my journeys.
I'll happily accept Dave and Roman's present.
Well, here's the card.
And eat them.
I'll leave it here. There we go.
Oh, okay. I
to
got
the
the
Daily
card.
Combat Crew, and I got you this mango.
Oh, a mango?
I was working on a mango farm.
Okay.
That was part of my journey. This isn't actually a mango from my mango farm.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I didn't have that opportunity to bring one here. Well, I did, but I may have eaten it. But this is just a mango I bought from the store to symbolise that I think of you guys on my journey. And
think of us as mangoes.
I'm thinking of you guys as mangoes all the time.
And aren't we all mangoes in some way?
We are, indeed. Like mangoes. We bring joy to the world around us.
There you go. All right.
Exactly.
So we've got a mango. We've got a card. We're, very festive today. So it's good to have you back. We do have an honorary members shirt here, the Daily Combat shirt, just for Izzy. You can tell it's brand new because it won't unravel because it's... So there's the shirt we've got there. We've got...
And I'm on the back.
There you go.
Oh.
Who's that?
Oh my Lord. I need to wear my hat when I wear the shirt so
that's
people
Matt.
know.
That's Dave.
So wait. Let me just have this shirt for a second. Let me just show it to the camera. So I just want to confirm that is Dave.
That's me. And that's Matt.
Oh, that's Matt.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Whenever I'm confused, I'm going to look at this shirt. No, I'm just kidding.
That's right. Well, the
Thanks,
names
Dave.
are on there too. Yeah, that's fine. No worries, Roman.
Yeah, I like the name Robert. Okay, sick. No, I love this.
Yeah.
Woo.
Oh, that's
I'm
cool.
going to leave this here. Thank you so much.
It's all right. Yeah, so Christmas is in a couple of days. You're all set and ready. You're going to be here, or you're going over to Antarctica or something?
Well, I've thought about it a few times myself. Have you thought about going to Antarctica?
I wouldn't mind going just to say I've been. Yeah, but I was listening to a podcast about a guy who was the very first person to walk solo from one side to the other. And he did it. He was an American guy.
Yeah.
And he did it, and he was racing another dude at the same time. Like they both.
You have to race someone
That's
because
right.
I can tell you, walking and running. I did run some of it. I swear to God, I did. That 70 Ks, especially after. So the pain set in at 35 Ks was when things started to hurt, and then it was just downhill from there.
Oh yeah.
I wish in both sense of the terrain and how I felt, but unfortunately pretty much just how I felt. And I think if I was racing someone, that would be amazing. Just to have someone else there.
Yeah.
That whole time was just me. I wasn't listening to music, you know, nothing like that. I was just like, just keep going.
What was this thing you were doing? Why were you running 70 Ks?
So it was actually an SAS endurance fundraiser for the Special Forces in Scotland. And I just saw it come up as a challenge, and I thought, the challenge was to do 70 kilometers in under 20 hours.
Jesus.
And I thought, well, that's pretty tempting.
Yeah.
I got to give it a go. And then shark diving got postponed, and I thought, well, there's nothing else I'd rather do than a challenge of some sort. So I'm going to do 70 kilometers. It was actually harder than I anticipated because I thought, it wouldn't be painful in that sense. Maybe that was a silly thought.
Maybe.
Matt.
Yeah, that's all right.
But yeah, no, I definitely felt like that 35K mark was hurting. What's quite funny for me is my pinky toes. Woo, like they went numb at around the 35K mark, right?
Oh.
And they're still numb today. And I couldn't work out why until I decided to actually have a decent look yesterday. And I've got so if my pinky toe is this big, I've got double the width of my pinky toe in a blister form surrounding both of my pinky toes. I just didn't notice because it's down the bottom, you know.
Yeah.
So there's a large blister. Anyway, my point was, you know, that pain that came on, and then, you know, I've still had another 35Ks to go. So this guy in Antarctica racing someone, that's pretty funny.
It was a great listen because he had a big sled of supplies. I can't remember how many days it took.
Was his name Santa by any chance?
Yeah, it was a big long beard.
Yes.
It was very jolly.
Yes, he had a lot of mangoes.
It's just a big sled or a sleigh, if you like. But yeah, so he got dropped off. There was a certain time of year that was, you know, optimal to be able to do this challenge. And so that's why another guy was doing it at the same time, and they were like in competition to be the first person to do it. And it was like from, you know, the southern point to the northern point, like the furthest distance. And it was like a solo trip. You had to do it. No help, no resupply or whatever. And so he got dropped off with everything like on this sled. And, you know, he said the first 3 hours were the worst of the entire thing because he couldn't move the sled because it was so heavy. And he'd been planning this thing for like a year.
Yeah.
And it was like he was pulling and pushing this thing, trying to get moving, and it was like, you know, he went a few meters or something, and he was like, I can't quit this early. Like everyone, I've told everyone about this thing. I've all the sponsors, everyone, all my food, all my preparation. And he used the satellite phone, called his wife, and she sort of gave him a bit of a pep talk or whatever. So she's like, just take it easy tonight. You know, just camp tonight, get your headspace right, and then try again tomorrow. And then because he was in competition with the other guy, who I think was a German guy or something, but they couldn't see each other. They didn't know where they were in terms of how far they were ahead or not.
Wait, so were they starting at the opposite sides?
No, they were.
Because that would have been really funny. Can you imagine when you saw the other person now slightly ahead of you? You'd be like, oh shit.
Absolutely. Yeah. So they were both started the same side, but couldn't see each other, and then, you know, obviously made the trip across, and I don't think he saw the other guy at all the whole time. But yeah, you know, over the next few days or the next weeks that it took him to get through it, because he had that, I don't know where the other guy is, and I don't know if he's ahead of me or not. He would walk for like, you know, 30, 35 hours straight just to be like, I don't know where he is, if I'm ahead or not. I got to keep pushing. And then in like the last, I don't know, say 30 Ks or something, he did it all in one go because it was, you know, he's like, well, screw it. I'm just going to get it done. And then, you know, he finished, and then found out that he was the first and that he had finished first. And then so he waited for the other guy. Oh, that's nice. Just to, you know, make sure he was safe and to say, ha, I beat you. No, not really. But obviously they've both been through something very difficult. But he said one of the weird things, I don't know why we're getting onto this topic, but
no, it's interesting. I mean, here on the Daily Combat podcast, we're talking about all things tough, and I think these people face a different sort of combat.
Yeah, that's right.
Because combat can be both a sport
and daily combat.
Daily combat. You know, perhaps that's what we meant when someone who wasn't me came up with the name on the podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
The daily combat, the combat we each go through.
Every day. Get out of bed, that's battle.
It is a battle.
The first battle of the day.
For we all face battles.
We all face land sharks every day.
We do in Australia, but the government has done an excellent job, because you know what the government has done about land sharks? Yeah. I don't know if you know this. Now, we could get into a lot of trouble talking about this.
Does it have to do with mangoes?
Unfortunately not. As a mango enthusiast, especially after picking mangoes, and I could tell you all about mango picking, and I would go on that topic and not stop. Okay. It's very interesting. There's even a trampoline machine involved, and I met the son of the creator of the very first trampoline machine.
Wow.
I know, very interesting stuff.
Wow.
But I'm going to reveal something pretty dangerous, Matt.
All right, I'm ready.
I'm a bit worried about the government. They may shut down this podcast.
They're probably listening up.
They're probably listening already, but they might not only shut down this podcast, they might kill me for saying this.
Jeez. This is top secret stuff.
This is top secret. This is like next level security clearance.
Okay.
Secret security.
Yeah.
Top secret security clearance.
All right, DEFCON 5. Here we go.
This is only a few people. Well, actually, you know, most people could get to this conclusion. So technically the security clearance isn't necessary. But I'm going to reveal something
here we go. What's
about the land sharks.
Okay.
You know why no one knows anything about land sharks?
Why?
It's because the Australian government has removed any scientific evidence of them from the museums, from Google search.
Wow.
Any online publications. It's
Any
been
at all.
completely removed. So only on the secret internet can you find.
On the dark
The
web.
dark web, I believe, is what it's called.
Right. Yeah, but now that you've revealed it all.
But I'm revealing it right here because I tell you why. Because when I was working on my mango farm, I saw the trail of a land shark in amidst the mango trees, and I thought to myself, this is wrong. You know, this is wrong. As a person with moral courage, it's time for me to speak up and talk about land sharks because I don't want tourists coming here unaware of the fact that a shark could come on the land and eat them.
That's right.
You know, these people say crocodiles caught the people up in Townsville.
Right.
No, land sharks.
It was.
So you
Yeah.
got to be careful of land sharks.
Okay.
I'm just saying
It's
it.
a public safety
It's
warning.
PSA, public safety announcement.
Yep.
Land sharks in
shark.
Australia. This is not a joke.
heard it
it's
first.
Yeah, you heard it first here. Like, you know, the drop bears, that was a mirage created to hide the land sharks.
It was a distraction.
It was a distraction.
Right.
People thought, let's make up something funny about these cute koalas.
Yeah.
But nah, it's
okay.
based on fact.
There you go. Exclusive. You heard it here first.
Exclusive.
And, yeah.
And if you don't see me again on this podcast, if
know
I
why.
disappear suddenly,
it's because you've
the
gone on
Australian
SAS
government.
too, but yeah. season
SAS
4 or whatever it is.
season 4.
Yeah.
Jeez, I don't know if I'll face that again.
Well, hang on. Before we get onto that, I want to finish this Antarctica thing. Because one of the things that he said that was interesting, which I thought was kind of cool, was because he's in the middle of basically nowhere. You know, it's basically a desert. I mean, but he said that there is literally nothing alive there, like nothing. Like there's no bugs, there's no flies, there's no insects, anything, because it is just ice and wind, and it was like eerie. It was an eerie thing to walk through and be walking through for hours and hours and days in that environment and not seeing anything moving or anything out there at all. It's like, it's really kind of creepy, you know?
That would be. I would say one of the mistakes I made was due to the distance I had to travel. I actually started my walk at my run. I swear I ran. Okay, maybe I walked more than I ran, but I did run.
At least you got there, yeah.
I got there. It did take me 11 hours. But I started at 2 p.m. Well, not including breaks. It was around 11 hours, and I think it was 11 hours and 49 minutes. And then the total time was I finished at exactly 12 hours and 20 minutes.
Wow.
So I finished at 2:20 a.m. on the 22nd of December. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I looked at my phone, I was like, oh, that was perfect timing.
Oh, nice one.
Yeah, but I will say that because I started later, I had a long walk. I had, 5 hours walking in the dark. And
Oh, yeah.
there are places where there are no footpaths and no lights.
Where was this that you were doing this?
It's a mystery. It's an undisclosed location. But what I will say is that there was this one point where I reached a highway.
Okay.
This is my version of being eerie in Antarctica, because at least there were people around
Yep.
in one aspect. But by God, there was just it was just pitch black, a long stretch 2K of highway with no footpath, no separation between the highway road and where I was walking. So I was hugging this bush line, but I'm like, I don't want to go too far into this terrain and I don't want to go too far onto the road. So that 2K was amazing because that happened around the 50K mark.
Oh, wow.
And I ran it because I'm like, I'm going to die if I don't.
Yeah.
So that was really good incentive to go faster because I had a minimum. If I was walking, my minimum pace was going to be under 10 minutes per kilometre. And if I was running, I was just going as fast as I could. So I started with about an hour of running. And then after that, I would run all the downhills, all the flats, and I would walk uphill because I felt that was a good way to conserve energy. And it was a pretty good technique, actually. And the funniest thing, all of that was really difficult. And I had about 8 bottles of Powerade and water.
Wow.
I thought I kept my hydration pretty well. I didn't feel dehydrated. I finished yesterday at 2:20. And I feel pretty good, to be honest. I got heaps of energy.
When you said that you did it yesterday, I'm like, what?
Yeah, I got actually so much energy. And the funny thing is, I thought I'd weigh myself because I forgot to weigh myself before SAS and after SAS. And so many people have asked, like, how much weight do you lose? I wish I knew.
Right.
But I weighed myself before, I weighed myself after, and I lost exactly to the point 2 kilograms.
Oh, okay.
I was like, that's a lot of weight.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're rehydrating the whole time, I guess, but yeah, that's, it is, I mean, in one go.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not a bad way to shred. Anyone looking for tips to shred? come to
Wow.
me.
Yeah. Well, it's like the UFC fighters or people that are cutting weight for, certain, they're trying with combat sports. You'd know all about this.
Yeah.
You're a boxer. Let me tell you about boxing.
Just tell me
Miss
some more.
Boxer.
What a great sport. Tell me more.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, probably the biggest weight cut I've heard of is over the 20 kilo mark in terms of like in a 24-hour, or 48-hour window that these guys are doing.
insane.
Yeah, just ridiculous, completely stupid. And yeah, just sitting in the sauna or, wrapping themselves in hot towels and then doing certain Epsom salt baths, to draw out all the
that
fluid.
does work. Yeah.
And then you're seeing them like that. It's like they're going through hell. It's, I mean, they're literally dehydrated to the brink of death.
Yeah.
And just trying to reach this weight.
Dangerous.
Oh, it's so ridiculous.
That stuff should be cut out. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan at all of weight cutting in the slightest. But yeah, with Tito Ortiz, who's proudly standing right here on the table and here and
Not my
over
t-shirt.
yeah, exactly. So I remember he would fight at light heavyweight, which is 93 kilos or 205 pounds. And he weighed in on the day at 93 kilos, and then he put a photo up that night at 113 kilos. So in one, I think it was only 8 hours or something, he'd put on, 20 kilos back of fluid weight.
He does look pretty shredded. But what I don't understand about those weigh-ins technically is it like if you are weighing in the night before and you're 90 kilos and then suddenly you're 110 the next day and you were 110 before the weight cut.
Yeah.
What was the point?
It's because you're sneaking yourself into a weight class that you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And then, you're going into the cage or into the boxing ring with a massive weight advantage over your opponent.
20, yeah.
But the funny thing is your opponent's doing the same thing. So you're actually fighting somebody that's at the same weight as you, but you both have gone through this stupid weight cutting thing. Which is why it's like, if they got rid of the weight cutting, it's like you'd still be fighting the same people. You just move up a division. Like the division just gets renamed. Like, don't put yourself through these torturous experiences and ruin the fight. So many fights have been ruined because of a bad weight cut, or the fight gets cancelled, or the fighter puts on a terrible performance because they dehydrated themselves so much leading into the event, and it's like, just don't do it. Just go up a weight class.
Or even what I find quite interesting is like amateur MMA athletes have been dying. Like we've got people dying because they don't know how to weight cut. And let's say like, if you are trying to do those things, you don't have proper supervision. Or even worse would be having supervision from a coach who doesn't know the right thing to do. That to me is even worse because you're putting a trust in someone.
Right.
Like, I think that's an aspect of combat sports that, there's been a lot of discussion on it, but we haven't really seen any action.
No.
Yeah, like
there's not in the UFC. There's been some things that they've done. They changed the rules so that you couldn't get an IV. Like people used to, be fully dehydrated and then instantly go straight to the hospital and be, injected with fluids and have 3 bags going at once or whatever to rehydrate themselves. But they made it so that you couldn't do that because there's like a certain plastic element to the fluid that comes in, and they can test for that. And so a few people got caught, rehydrating. How dare you rehydrate? But it was in an attempt to stop the weight cutting from.
how bad.
Yeah, it's insane. But the only effective thing I've seen was World Series of Fighting, and they brought in a no dehydration rule.
Oh, yeah.
And so say the fight was on Saturday, they would test you on Tuesday, and if you were dehydrated, you weren't allowed to fight. They would test you Wednesday, they would test you Thursday, Friday. And, before you went on the scale, they would test you again, like see where your hydration levels are. If it were too low and you were dehydrated, you're not allowed to fight.
That's smart. That's a good way to do it.
Exactly.
That's a good way to do it.
So that way there's literally no way around it in terms of, trying to, get the fluid out of your body to step onto the scale and then rehydrate again, because it's like, okay, fluids out of the body, test it. Oh, you're dehydrated, you can't fight. So, but I think they are not around anymore, World Series of Fighting. So, yeah, disappointing.
disappointing.
It is. Yeah.
Disappointing indeed. But yeah, no, it's pretty interesting because I was actually considering that when it was before I weighed myself, I think. Yeah, it was when I was still doing the walk. I was like, I wonder if this is a decent way to, can you imagine what I was imagining is, imagine if you have like a world title fight, this huge fight, and you're able to go to that fight and you can say, oh yeah, like last week I walked 100 kilometers. Like that's just how you shred.
Yeah.
Like, because as I said, like afterwards I felt pretty, like I just feel like I've had a hard training session.
Right.
But I don't feel like as, well, I was going to say fucked. I have to
Can
find
say
a
whatever you
different word. As wrecked as I would assume.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what that is. I think it was just maybe just the water I drank. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Speaking of water, today's water sponsor. We got a different water sponsor today. We have the Day Tripper, the brand, which appears to be Frontel. I've never heard. I mean, I have heard of them.
it's your favorite. Favorite water brand.
But I haven't quite sampled the water yet, but they are willing, they if they prove their goodness,
The worthiness.
their worthiness, then I will remember their name.
Would you like to sample the water now?
Oh,
Whoa.
the water is literally jumping off the table. Let's try
This
some.
one's not infused with the wildfires of, oh my God.
I'm not going to spit this water out on the beautiful UFC encyclopedia. I tell you what, this water may not be infused with the wildflower.
Right.
Thank you for remembering, Matt.
It's so good that you can't even keep it in your mouth. It's just.
It's so good, it jumps out your mouth. What I will say
Bursting
about this
with
water,
flavour.
it's bursting. Well, actually, on the contrary, in comparison to the other water that was
infused with the scent of wildflowers, I think it was.
indeed, as
Yeah.
opposed to that water, this one is quite plain, but in a good way. It tastes just like pure. It tastes a bit like Puritap.
Oh, yeah.
But like less of that Puritap crispness. I would say this is quite a smooth water.
Smooth.
Very smooth.
Smooth on the palate.
This is very smooth water. I would pair this water with something like crackers and cheese.
and spitting on a table.
Nobody saw that.
That's awesome. Oh, that's
I will
great.
now clean up the Frontel water. But look, Frontel, I'm quite impressed by the first sip. So if you're willing to sponsor a podcast,
And what a sip that was.
it was a great sip. I'll just put that back down there.
Okay. Yeah. So
Thank you for listening to the.
That's
And
all
that
right.
was the advertisement break.
right.
Yeah.
Uh,
then
so
we
you-
returned from the advertisement.
The 70K walk run.
Yes.
And then you didn't just go and
Well,
you had a
actually,
rest.
look, I'm gonna have to correct you there. I believe it was a run walk, not a walk
well,
run,
oh.
because I began with running.
Okay.
No, just kidding.
That's fine. That's fine. It was 70.
Just
70Ks of
semantics. It's just
anything is
semantics.
enough.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. And then it was a rest of a few hours, and then
Yeah.
and then what happened after that?
Then I drove about an hour, which wasn't anywhere near. It was about a third of the distance I'd
All right.
walked.
But you just
run.
ran.
Travelled on foot at high speed. There needs to be an in-between word. There needs to be a word. I'm dead serious about this. There needs to be
Sauntered.
So
Canted.
I was definitely sauntering when it was midnight and there was like no one around, so I disguised myself as a man, and it was very effective because I had people actually like the first thing like legitimately one block after I did my hair up in my hat and I'm walking like this, this woman sees me and she specifically walks out my
Wow.
way and I'm like, damn, I'm good.
You're like,
Yeah,
yes,
that's the walk. I'm like, yeah.
it's working.
It's working.
Master of
So
disguise.
that was a saunter. I would describe that as a saunter. But I believe as athletes, we need to find a word for when you have a workout that is both a walk and a run. You know, it's not a jog. You don't average it out as a jog. It's like I was running and I was walking. There's got to be a word for that, like a walk.
Rock.
I walked. I don't like that. It sounds a bit like balk.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't balk at nothing.
Today's homework assignment.
Today's
Come
no,
on.
come on, we can do it. We can do it here. I walked. I ran. I
A
ran.
Mickey Rourke?
A Mickey Rourke there.
I went
Nah.
for a Mickey Rourke.
I went for a Mickey Rourke. I
That's
don't know.
good. I like that.
A
You know who
Mickey
Mickey Rourke is? He's
No,
a
I
boxer.
don't.
You don't? Oh,
He's a boxer. Oh my
ruined my
god,
joke
I'm
here.
ashamed. I'm ashamed of myself.
he's a boxer
I'm
and an
ashamed
actor.
of myself. I need to learn about him.
Well,
God damn it.
well, let me tell you about Mickey Rourke.
Yeah, let's learn about today. We're going to learn about Mickey Rourke.
That's right.
Insert a picture of Mickey Rourke right here.
Here we go. Yeah, so Mickey Rourke, a famous Hollywood actor.
Famous.
And he was very handsome, a little bit eccentric guy.
Oh, this sounds cool. Is he
Yeah,
single?
he was starring as the lead in a few romantic
Oh, he
movies.
was. So he's
Yeah.
dead.
No, he's still alive.
Oh.
Yeah, so he was, but this is like I said was. So he was doing really well in Hollywood. His dream was always to be a boxer. So he gave up Hollywood and went and did boxing.
Oh.
But problem was, in boxing, he got his face punched in. So
Wow.
he did all right. I think he was like 3-3 or something like that.
Yeah.
But he ended up getting a lot of plastic surgery, and he didn't look sort of anything like he used to look.
Oh.
Yeah, but he did make a bit of a comeback. He was very bitter towards the entertainment industry for a long time, and I think they had a big falling out with, he hated the whole side of it.
Yeah.
But eventually he sort of turned it around, and he starred in the Wrestler movie, which was nominated for Best Picture.
Ooh.
Yeah, so which was about Randy the Ram, and
Randy the
fantastic
Ram.
film, who was a wrestler, and he did a lot of the stunts of the movie himself, and it gave a sort of an inside look into he was in the movie, he was a retired star, like he'd risen to his peak as a legitimate wrestler, sort of, your John Cena's or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
He was at that level in the 80s, and then it had dropped away, and he was still trying to capture that fame, which was the story of the film. And in a way, it was a similarity to his life. So there was a lot of sort of realism in the character that he played there, which was why it was such a great film. But yeah, so Mickey Rourke, boxer, and he's an interesting guy, very, very charismatic and eccentric, has some interesting things. So
I'm gonna
maybe
Google him.
yeah, there you go.
Googling him.
But you would, yeah. If you haven't seen The Wrestler, I would highly recommend it.
Not
It's-
sure if I've seen it. I don't think I
okay.
have. Yeah, I don't think I have.
Very, very good film, and really highlights when people have that really high crescendo in their life early, and they hit a certain point and they're on top of the world,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
nothing else in their life is ever going to get them back there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can see it with a lot of people, like athletes or actors or people that, especially if they find fame young, and they can't reach that same level, they go into a spiral of a depressive episode, because it's like nothing's ever going to get you back to that point. In those terms, in terms of, if you're relying on outside factors to justify your existence, if you care about other people's opinion and that other people's thoughts and opinions of you validates who you are, then it's a recipe for disaster, really, because you have to have
Absolutely.
the true strength from within.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the people that succeed and go on, regardless as to their achievements and failures, they're the ones that were never doing it for fame and fortune.
Absolutely. That's a big thing, especially I'd say with young athletes, like even people I've seen around my age. I'd say actually something I was talking to one of my friends about was, I remember at school I was never given any recognition for pretty much anything.
Wow.
And yeah, which is fine because you don't need that, right?
Okay.
But I just remember like how much I would have loved like a sports award.
Yeah.
Right. And I would have loved like, like I was really heavily involved in rowing. I love rowing and I loved it so much. I did 6 years of, I did 4 seasons of coxing.
Oh, yeah.
And then my last season I was rowing. And I just, they had like a service award, which I'd always looked forward to because I saw it every year in assembly for the senior rowers. They gave an award that was like, service to rowing. And you only got the specific one if you'd done it for as long as you could. And the maximum amount of time was 6 years. So I knew that one day I would earn that. And then it came to the award ceremony and they just didn't call out my name. And I was like, oh, okay. And the PE teacher pulled me aside afterwards and she goes, oh, I knew you'd be upset about this.
Oh, gee, really?
She goes, I'm sorry. I knew you'd be upset that you didn't get an award. And I didn't even say anything. I just went up to her, like, oh, hey, did you forget me or something? Like, I was wondering why I didn't get one. She's like, I knew you'd be upset about this. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm a bit disappointed, but I don't know about upset. She goes, oh, you couldn't classify for the criteria. It was very specific because you were coxing for this amount of time and you had to be, rowing for this amount of time. But there were coxers that got it. Like there was, there was no reason. And I just remember like at that point I was upset. Admittedly, I did get upset about it. But I just remember thinking like, I would have loved that. But at this point in my life, I can say the reason that I'm still doing sport full time at 25 is because I never had I had never had anyone in my life be like, well done, you're training like real hard. You know, I never had a coach before I hit, say, when I was doing canoeing, I had a few coaches say it once or twice, but I never had a consistent person aside from Chief, my main strength and conditioning coach, who's been with me for the last 6 years and someone I'd love to get on the podcast one day.
Cool.
Chief, yeah. You know, I didn't have someone telling me those things. I'm so fucking happy that I didn't, because I can say all of those people who were getting those awards at school, none of them did sport after school. None of them, and they had such talent. They were much more talented than me. They were much more physically, you know, talented. They had everything much better than me, but none of them continued. And whether that was because of getting that recognition early. So I find it a really interesting topic, because I know also a lot of people who had no recognition in any way, who just work, because for me, the recognition, I guess, is for myself. So doing that 70K walk, I didn't have any supporters. I didn't have any support crew. I didn't have anyone giving me water. But, you know, it was just me and myself, and getting to the end and thinking, oh, shit, yeah, I just did that. Fuck, that was hard, you know?
Absolutely.
So I think that burnout we see does come from people who've gotten used to the external validation.
Yep.
And as you've mentioned, like for people even of my generation and those younger, like I feel very, you know, sometimes I think about those coming into the world, like the Z, I think they're called, to my generation Zers, like, you know, just growing up in an atmosphere where it's how many likes do I have? How many followers do I have? How many TikTok, you know, like I feel bad about that because, you know, at least we escaped that, but I've never had that issue. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it, that people will regard their value based on the opinions of others, and it should be the opposite. It's like
Absolutely,
your opinion of yourself is what's most important, because if, like, you know, yesterday there would have been moments during that challenge that you would have been like, I'm going to quit.
Yeah, there was a one specific moment I was like, oh, this is hard. It was actually around the 52, the late 50s to the 60s, and the early 60s were the hardest.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
From 53K to 66K, I'd say, was the hardest. But go on.
Yeah,
that
for
was
sure.
the period of time when I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, go on.
Well, that's what's so important, is to have that difficulty where your body is saying, like, you know, we're exhausted, can't keep going, we're going to stop. What are you doing? Like this, you know, we're in pain. And then, you know, your mind I always have the two voices going, and one's going, oh, maybe.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah,
Your voices,
that's right.
yeah, go on. Yeah,
so
yeah.
one's going, oh, maybe, you know, we did 52, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
like trying to talk you into quitting. And then it's like, but if you've got that steely resolve of, screw you, I am going to get this no matter what. My legs can fall off. I will get this number and I will hit that. And then it's like, it only comes through that self-discipline. And it's like, when you hit that 70, you would have been like, you to yourself, you wanted to quit the whole time, didn't you? You wanted me to quit. And look, we still got there. You were saying we couldn't do it. Look at this. We're here. Like 70, you know, so your opinion means nothing. It's just, you know, and doing that over challenges and regularly, and, you know, building that discipline is where you'll find the strongest people, because it's like, I don't need your validation to achieve something. I have it from within. And so regardless as to what you're doing, whether it's a sport or whether it's, you know, trying to complete a project or start a business or whatever, you're going to face those challenges and those adversity moments where it's like, you're going to feel like, I can't do it. I feel like I want to quit. And those are the moments where you have to turn it around and be like, it doesn't matter how much you throw at me, I'm just going to keep going. And it doesn't come from a support crew. It doesn't come from your family. It doesn't come from your friends that have, you know, come to see you or any of that stuff. If you're doing it for them, you will lose. You will quit, because you're doing it for them. You're doing it for the accolades. You're doing it for the belt. You're doing it for the title. It's none of that. It's for you. It has to be for you. If you don't do it for you first, you won't get there. And even if you do get there, it won't mean as much to you. And, you know, if you've put all your value into having the world championship, and then if you lose the world championship, then you lose your identity in a way. You saw that with Ronda Rousey when, you know, she lost the title, and then just sort of, in a way, spiraled downwards very quickly because she had wrapped herself into, I am the world champion and that is who I am. And if I am not world champion, then I am nothing. So to lose that title, you know, to have it so black and white was, it was, in a way, it was like a surprise to see how fast it sort of turned around for her. But in terms of mentality for athletes, for anybody that's doing anything, you know, you're always going to face challenges. And the pattern is always the ups and the downs. You're going to have great moments and you're going to have bad moments. And it's like, though, you have to have the bad moments to appreciate the up moments, because if everything's going great the whole time, you won't appreciate it. Because if you succeed at all time, like everything you do, you always win, it's not a challenge anymore and it becomes boring. And it's like, yeah, but I didn't even have to put effort in and I won. And that's the problem with, you know, this pattern of rewarding people for not doing anything. And that's such a mistake. It's like, if you win the race because you put in effort and because you worked the hardest, you should get a reward. If you did nothing and didn't try at all, you don't get anything. That's how the world works. And it has to work that way. But yeah, I think recognition for effort is important. And somebody just saying, like, if you're in a job and, you know, say you're doing what you need to do, or if you went above and beyond for something, if for a leader or a manager to just to say, oh, well done, mate, that was great, like, good stuff. You know, that's enough to keep that person going.
It's a huge thing, which I think and I've noticed this again, luckily for me, through sport, being able to travel. And I would say in Australia, we don't give as much recognition in that form. I've been reading a lot of books on leadership at the moment, and almost all of them have included in some way just giving respect but recognition to people who are in organisations. Like, that's more organisational leadership. But for me, I mean, how would I implement that both as a coach and as a teammate? Just, you know, if someone's done an extraordinary effort, or if someone's, you know, cleaned up a boat, or, you know, done something like that, like, thank you, like, well done, like, thanks for doing this, like. And it's interesting because, again, as what I would say is, I've noticed as a generalization, like, those team atmospheres in America, it really is like that. Or in New Zealand, where I was just training, which was amazing. It was just so much like, oh, you know, good effort, you did a good job. Good. Yeah. And there's so much study. What I found interesting, again, is that study that kind of shows positive feedback in a coaching sense, or in general, does deliver better results than that old school, like, you piece of shit, you're a shit, fuck this. And it's funny because in my old sport, canoeing, I've now heard multiple stories about different coaches kind of having that school. And that's why we've had such a dropout. Like, that sport of canoeing in Australia is so small because only a few, you know, have continued. And so I find that really interesting because perhaps with that positive feedback, we would see more retention in that sport. But also we would see more success in other sports in general.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Like, so for example, like the boxing, for me going into a boxing gym, boxing is a sport where, as a generalization, in my experiences, it's been so positive.
Yeah.
You know, every combat gym, you go to arm wrestling.
Yeah.
So positive. And that's, again, something I love about combat sports, because people don't have any reason not to just be like, you know, good work. Like, hey, this is what you're doing. This is what you're doing. And there's toughness is always required because but being positive, I think, they're separate things. And I think today perhaps some people make that mistake of, to be a good coach, I have to be rude, but there's a difference, you know, like you always deliver positive feedback.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. I think it depends as well on what say you're a coach of a fighter or something and trying to build that relationship as to what do they respond best to. And if they respond really well to positivity, then that's what I'll be, you know, following through. But it's in certain moments, and you can see this through, you know, I think there's clips on YouTube of like best cornering moments or whatever.
Oh, cornering is a different beast.
Absolutely.
Different beast. God, I'd love to be a corner woman.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And some of the things that they will say to their athlete to put them in the right frame of mind, and it can be very negative or very aggressive. But it's like, this is what this person needs to hear at this point in time. Because I know, and I have a relationship with this person, I know that they will respond to this. Whereas if I just go, oh, you're doing well, mate, keep going, and they're not doing well, then that's a failure as me as a coach or as a leader. But yeah, that positivity is so important. And as you said, with sports, and especially with combat sports, you know, and I think the main reason is that you are constantly humbled.
Yeah.
You can't
absolutely.
think that you're awesome when you're getting your ass kicked
Yep.
all the time.
Yep.
And it's like, say with arm wrestling, it's like I've lost, say, 1 million arm wrestles, and it's like to win 100.
Yeah.
So it's like somebody comes in, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I'm really good. It's like, but you lost 1 million times. You
Yeah.
can't say you're good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is that sort of mindset or that psychology that comes into it. But in terms of people's everyday life, just I've seen it with just somebody goes, oh, that was well done, good stuff, and it can change like somebody's like their whole attitude towards the workplace or anything, and the failure to recognize effort or good work is such a mistake. And it is a real management skill to have, to be able to say, I appreciate my employees and I appreciate the efforts that they're making, and I'm going to recognize it. And because some places, I will give you a bonus, we'll give you this, but it's not the same as like, hey, I recognize you did this specific thing and I think that was really cool, and then highlighting it. It doesn't have to be over the top. Just well done, that was good, is enough, And if you're getting that, you feel like your efforts are validated. And if you're validating people's efforts, they're more likely to continue with those efforts. Whereas if you keep ignoring good work, that good work will start to dissipate, and people will stop doing it because they're like, there's no point. There's no point working hard because no one cares. Such a mistake.
Yeah, it's just really interesting because I wonder, like, I think it's almost like, yes, it's a cultural thing too. There's nothing, I wish we'd see a bit more of it, and I think we will be seeing more of it because I think people will appreciate that it is something that delivers results as well as something that's like positive in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's fun, like at the gym that I'm working at, where people come through and they have been consistent and they're getting results. And I'll sort of mention it, maybe they've been there for a year or 6 months or something, and I'm like, you're doing really well. Like you're getting a lot of results, and they're like, oh yeah, and you can see that they really appreciate that somebody's actually noticed.
Yeah,
no one else has said anything.
Yeah,
and it's like, hey, you're doing great. Like I can see you're getting like stronger, or you look like you're a lot fitter, or whatever. And regardless as to who they are, I say it legitimately. I'm not just going to say it to anyone who hasn't done anything. But it's like, hey, you're doing awesome. Like, what are you doing? What are your numbers, or what are you, and they're like, oh, and they can see that they're like, oh, that little nice little kickback of positivity. And then you can see the next like week or two, the little uptick in sort of their motivation. Because there's recognition for effort. And it's so important. But just,
no, it's funny. I can tell you from the opposite side of that story too. So I remember one of the gyms I went to, one of the guys who was working there saying, I really admire your commitment. Like, you've come in, like, you're really committed. Like, I mean, to me, that's just what I got to do for my sport. Of course, I'm going to train, 5-6 days a week. That's like a minimum standard. But I guess most of the people who go to that gym were recreational or just as a hobby or just for fun. Or health or whatever. And so you're saying, like commitment. I forgot what else he said, but it's funny you say that because this is from the other side, from someone receiving that compliment. It was just like, whoa, someone said something nice about my commitment too. It was like a really nice specific compliment. It wasn't cool. like, you come in here, good job, or, you train hard. It was like, well, I think he did say that. But like your, what's that word? Consistent commitment is impressive. Like, that's impressive. And I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
And it did make my day. It made my whole week to think that, because it was like a coach. It was like a coach saying that.
For sure.
Yeah, it was really nice.
That's great. I love that. I love seeing it in people when, they get that little like, oh, I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. And it is weird because it's rare, I like training with other people and I love to give people like, oh, you did awesome. That was great. The whole way through the workout, because it's like, I make people work to like the extreme, and but they'll push themselves to the limit, and it's like that was awesome. Like you really pushed hard, and you got there, and you didn't think you could, and you wanted to quit at 10 reps, and you did 25, or whatever it was, and it was like to sort of have those sort of sessions, and then be doing that multiple times a week. It's like everything else in your world that comes up as a challenge, it's like, well, this is nothing compared to what I did this morning, or a 70K run.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and it's like, well, this challenge that I'm facing is absolutely nothing compared to the things that I have been through. So, I know I can get through this, and I know that even if it's difficult, that whatever the result is, if I put in 100% effort, I will get a good result. So, yeah, it's nice to see that there is, that you've had positive feedback come your way.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely it's a big thing.
Has anyone said anything about like your, say with SAS or with the recent stuff that you've been doing, like with your boxing or your rapping, when people say, hey, I listened to your song and it was, it really hit me, or it was, I really thought it was well structured, or, if they're giving you that specific, not if they just go, oh yeah, it was good. It's like, hey, this lyric here, or this line, or this beat, like I thought you picked it really well. That, have you had those moments happen as well?
Yeah, I would say it's always like for me, it definitely is something which is more on the rare occasions. So I am mostly self-driven. When I do get those comments, it's so nice. The biggest one I would say that I got was actually doing that 70K event.
Okay.
I received so many messages.
Wow.
That was I was blown away by the quantity of people that were sending me these really nice, funny and supportive messages. Like, I remember at one moment because I had my phone mostly on airplane mode to conserve energy. But at one point, I remember I replied to a few of my friends, and almost all of my friends sent back the same response, which was stop typing and keep running.
Oh, yeah.
But it was so nice. Like, when I do get those comments, especially as you said, when they're specific, like one of my tracks that I did for a guy in Africa, I wrote the intro and the outro. I was commissioned to write the intro and the outro to his album. The intro is also the outro. No, the outro is something I'm really proud of, because I literally got to write down in this song, because the track was just perfect for it. I wrote down everything that I would want the whole world to hear if the world was listening. That's everything in this. Pretty much everything. I got everything in there, every single message that I would want the world to hear.
Okay.
Yeah, and I put it up on my sports Instagram, because I usually keep things, separate. But I put it up on my sports Instagram before SAS, because I thought, I might have some more. And I did get a fair bit more traffic onto my page. So why not, use this so people can hear the message that I do want to share.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of comments that were like, this is, pretty much as you said, specific. Like, I have to get my phone out to read them. But, just like, this is these messages, like the lyricism. And that's what I've always wanted to focus on, because my favorite artists focus on lyricism. And so I got a few positive things about, like these lyrics are, this isn't just, some sort of, what do they call it, WAP, or some sort of, like crap. Sorry about my language, but, some sort of like, you can easily rap about crap.
Right, you could make up, well,
I don't know if that's making sense. What I'm trying to say is, like, especially hip hop has had, unfortunately, some notoriety, like, kind of being about, a lot
crap. Of nothing. Take your shirt off.
Specifically hip hop has faced that, right? Because you wouldn't really say, like, country music. Let's not go down this alleyway. What I'm saying.
We'll steer back to
what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, thank you, is there's some generalizations made about rap music. So to actually be about what the original hip hop's about, which is sharing stories and sharing specific messages, that is a compliment I take to my heart. So I was very grateful for that. In terms of SAS, yes, because it's my first time now. I've just arrived back. It's my first time seeing people since the show has aired.
Right.
Since I've been able to talk about it, and I've had so many comments. I can tell you the best story. When I was working in Townsville, I went and did my firearms course. So soon I will have my gun license.
Ooh, watch out.
Yeah, so I'll bring. Oh no, I don't think I can bring my guns in here. Maybe
You'll lose your firearms.
Yes, I'll lose it. So just as quickly as I got it. But maybe we can do a shot down at the range. That'd be so much fun. I love shooting. Anyway. And there was this cute couple. They were so cute. They were in their like 50s, and they were learning too. And when they were learning how to use the shotgun, they were like, edging each other on, and they're like, "Oh, honey, like I'm gonna shoot better than you," and like, I'm the better shooter. That sort of thing. They were so cute.
Oh, cool.
And I was looking at them like, oh my gosh, goals. Anyway, I thought they were really funny. And the guy, he was giving everyone chewing gum. He's like, "This is an old shooter's trick to like because it kind of
to calm yourself
almost
down?
calms yourself down, I'd say. But also to me, like when I shot a handgun for the first time, yeah, I would say just kind of like, just get to me. I think it's more about the mood of it. You know, you feel like you're in a Western movie chewing some gum, you know, some tobacco. You're like,
it's like a piece of straw.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'm just chewing this. I got my cap on, my sunnies on, and I'm like, yeah, let's roll, motherfuckers. Anyway, long story short, you go from the range to complete theory at the firearms store, and they're like, I was like, well, actually, no, they didn't offer me a lift. I had to ask because I didn't have a car up there. So I'm like, oh, excuse me, can I please have a lift with you guys? And they're like, yeah, sure, hop on in. And I'm driving, and the father, I think, funnily enough, I do believe his name was Dave.
Oh,
I've got it written down somewhere. I wrote down their names. Anyway, Dave, we'll call him Dave for today.
Just like my name is not.
Matt, I'm sorry. Public apology. I feel terrible. I know your name is Matt, obviously.
That's fine. I'm only playing around. That's all
okay, good. I get emotional about these things. Anyway, and I'm talking to this guy, and he's an army veteran. And I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. Let's talk about this. So finding out more about his career, about his life. And then I'm like, and then he started talking about, like, you know, obviously the challenges and all that. And I'm like, I know exactly, you know, how that feels, how that could feel. Like I did a mock SAS selection course.
Yeah.
And that's how I usually describe it to people. Like I don't want to say it in any other way. I'm like, well, I just did like it was a mock SAS selection. That's what it was.
Yeah,
that's what it was. You know what I'm saying? I don't want like bringing up anything else. And then he's like, was that on TV by any chance? And I was like, oh no. And I'm like, well, funny you say that. Like this is legit the conversation. So, you know, the mum's gone to the back, which was quite funny. Oh, I wish I could remember her name off the top of my head. But she was actually, she volunteered to take the middle seat because they've got grandkids.
Oh, yeah.
So that was pretty funny because she's like, you know, for me in my family, it's the oldest always sits in the front. So I felt like, you know, she needed to be in that seat and I deserved to be there. But she took that and I was like, that's really nice. So anyway, I'm talking to him. She's behind me here. And I was like, yeah, it was on TV. I was like, I was in the civilian series and I had cornrows in because the production asked me to have cornrows. And I had cornrows in. And then she's like sitting at the back. She like jumps out the front. She's like, you're the little chick. She's like, you were the little chick. And she's like, Dave, it's the little chick. And she said, we were cheering you on.
Awesome.
Like, you just had so much guts. Like, we were so proud of you. You wouldn't give up. And I could not believe, at that moment, I was blown away. I was so blown away. I'm like, took out my phone. I'm like, can you please say that again on camera? I could not believe that I had this beautiful family.
Right.
And, you know, as I said, they've got children and grandchildren who would watch the TV and cheer me on.
Oh, that's amazing.
And she said, it is amazing. I was blown away by the fact that these strangers, you know, that these are strangers, completely unbiased people.
Yeah.
And that's the best feedback you can have.
Absolutely.
You know, it's not like your friend or your family or your enemy, you know, it's none of those people. It's no one who knows you.
Yeah.
And to have her, she said, you know, you were the shortest one left. And she said she loved that because she was short too. She said she loved that. And just the fact that I wouldn't give up.
Yeah.
She said they were just yelling at she said they were yelling at the TV, go little chick, go.
Go little
so
chick.
I was the little chick. Yeah,
Which
was really funny. And that blew me away. So in terms of feedback about SAS, that was the one. I'm definitely not going to forget that ever. That was to me, like, by day 2 of the experience, I was really not living it as a TV show in that we were given microphones. I couldn't stand the microphones because, you know, for example, they'd get wet and it was freezing and you'd be getting into your dry kit. I would be the one to take off my microphone and hang it up. When you weren't meant to do that, you were meant to wear your microphone 24/7. So I got into trouble. Obviously, next time I'd be more aware of the TV and what's real and what's not.
Right.
I went into that and I was just so full on, like, this is real. I forgot about the TV aspect of it. And in saying that, now finishing it up, to have that, you know, that moment was when I was like, okay, that's the TV aspect of it. You know, the fact that you've got these people so invested in the TV, the entertainment of it. I was so not flattered isn't the right word. I was really touched and humbled and honoured to think that some people, really, that's the most humbling thing of my life. I really can't believe that they said that. Like, you know, imagine just meeting some random, not some random, but imagine meeting other people.
Right.
you've never met before. You don't know them. And they just said to you, I've been cheering you on. Like, you amaze me. Like, your determination, your grit. Like, imagine someone just saying that. Like, that they could still see that through the TV, through everything. That was absolutely probably one of the highlights of
awesome.
SAS was just that feedback.
Yeah. Oh, that's really nice to hear that people are like, appreciating your efforts, and then they could see that you were giving it everything, and it was like, we wanted you to succeed because you were trying so hard. It sounds like you were a bit of an inspiration to people.
Yeah, well, it means a lot to me because they definitely cut out, like, as I think I've mentioned it a few times, like, kind of secretly on the podcast. I couldn't tell you what it was for, but I did tell you guys it was like the biggest experience of my life.
Yeah.
But I fought, my first official fight was on SAS. That was my first official fight.
Yeah.
And I fought a 6'3" guy that I chose.
Right.
And when they cut out bits like that, like, so they cut it and they edited it and they said there were no volunteers. And that, oh my gosh, I was laughing. The group chat was going off. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, they cut your fight. Because, they actually, not only did they cut my fight, but they said there were no volunteers. And I'd volunteered first, picked the biggest guy and fought him.
And had the fight.
Got knocked down twice, had the one moment, my favourite bit, he comes across with must have been a right hook. I go under, I get some body shots in, It was a massive experience for me. Despite the fact that they cut that out, they also cut me carrying some very heavy men on stretchers, on a stretcher for a very long way. They completely, every single shot they used of me in that scene, in the casualty evacuation, was either me putting on my backpack or taking it off, which showed that I'd just been carrying the stretcher, which was so funny.
Right.
The fact that, so when I saw that, naturally I was disappointed because I wanted my friends and my family to see two moments of my life where I'm so proud of myself. Luckily, there are photos of it. They didn't not send me the photos.
Yeah.
Very grateful for the photographer who captured those moments. Those are life-changing moments for me. But despite them cutting those moments out, a family, were able to see and still think you were so strong. Like, you pushed so hard. So that meant the world to me.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that really did mean so. I think that's the thing. Like, so yes, while I was content with everything and talking about that external validation, when you don't get it, like, I would say generally maybe most of us don't get it, I'd say, when you do get it, it's just like, whoa, like that to me is, I'm never going to forget that moment of this lady almost jumping through the middle seat, looking at me like, you're the little chick. Because obviously I look very different when my hair's not in braids. A lot of people have said that, which is kind of a good thing. What I like about it is I haven't been recognised. So no one's going to recognise me from the show. Right. Because my hair's completely different, which is so funny, which is great. It's like,
yeah, for sure. That's
incognito mode. I love it. I would totally do that if I go on again on something different. I just kind of wear a very different hairstyle to what I usually do. You don't have to worry about anything.
That's right. Well, that's like, this is a crazy, silly example, but
let's go. It doesn't surprise me, Matt. Like all your examples. I'm going to grab a drink while I listen. Yes, go on.
So it was Mickey Rourke. No. It was with the wrestling, and people always felt jealous of Kane, who is so you got The Undertaker. You might have heard of The Undertaker.
Oh, yes, I have heard of The Undertaker.
Yeah, so
I believe he jumped from a cage.
He's done a lot of insane things. Yeah.
That's what I would do if I was on there.
Oh, yeah. He's done it all. Yeah. So they came up with a character called Kane, who was his brother, and it was obviously not his brother. It was just another guy. But Kane wore a mask. And he was huge, massive, 7-foot guy. Yeah. And all the other wrestlers were jealous of Kane because he could freely go around cities and no one would recognize him because he was wearing a mask and a wig. So they were always like frustrated that everywhere that they went. And I guess it's nice to have that recognition that people see you, but I guess it would be kind of frustrating if you're just trying to go about your day. You just want to buy some food, or you want to, and you're getting all that, people, to want to talk to you or whatever. Yeah. So he was able to always sort of.
That's very smart. Yeah. I love that. I love DJs that hide their identity, and I was the same. Like, actually, my first thing in music was I was creating tracks on like YouTube with like no identity, and I just like that idea that there was nothing caught up to you. And I definitely agree. Like, I love that idea of Kane. Like, if I were to do that, because you get the best of both worlds.
Right.
So should you choose to be that figure, which is still you, but you're that publicly recognized figure, you just put on the mask. But there, as you said, you can still have that private life. Like, yeah, I think that's quite a good idea.
You heard of Banksy?
Yes. Yeah. Is that Exit Through the Gift Shop?
Is that the graffiti artist?
Yeah. Have you seen, I don't know if you guys know about this, to our listeners, that's who I refer to as guys. I'm very well aware that Matt is the only other person that Dave, you're listening? No, but he did this artwork that like it ate itself or something. Did you hear about that?
I didn't hear about this.
I think it had a yeah. He sold an artwork. I'm not quite sure how it worked. I think it had a timer in it or something. So he sold this artwork for like $1.4 million or something. No, it would have been way more than that. It was like a huge, ridiculous amount of money for this artwork.
Right.
And then when it was installed, it has like a paper shredder down the bottom, and it just shredded itself. Yeah, I'll Google it right now.
Wow.
But yeah, it was quite funny.
So the person that bought it...
Should I Google it so we can find out more?
They didn't know that it was going to get destroyed.
So funny. I don't know whether they knew. Let's Google this. Like
Is
Banksy.
this the same guy that had the banana taped to the wall?
Did he? Banksy shredding art.
Yeah.
Wait, he had what tied to what?
Oh, there was...
Yeah, it was shredded. It was shredded.
Wow.
So, and it was sold right after auction. You have to include a video. Oh, wow. That's incredible. Okay, so I'll just read it out now. I wish I could show you. It was a beautiful image. It was the image of the girl, a girl and she's all black, and then she's got a red love heart balloon, and she's letting it go.
So somebody's just paid for it without knowing that it's got to shred itself.
I don't think they knew. She said, I'm told that someone from Banksy's publicity team contacted Sotheby's, which is an auction house, to sell the painting Girl with a Balloon, but that the consignment came with stipulations more or less as follows. A, the painting had to be hung in the sales room during the sale. It needed to be sold in the latter half of the proceedings, and it wasn't to be examined out of the frame. As it's not the norm to hang a relatively inconsequential valued painting in the room. The pre-sale was £200,000 to £3,100 during an evening auction, and the house said no. Then the consignor countered by offering to pay a seller's fee of around 5%. I actually don't know what that means, so we're going to skip past this bit. It's quite a long explanation. When we asked the artist studio about removing the work from its frame, we were expressly told not to. We were told that the frame was integral to the work. Breaking it would damage the work and negatively impact its artistic value.
Okay.
This is fantastic. I just want to get to the main story, though.
So somebody's bought this painting for 1.1 something million pounds.
He must have had a remote in it, I think, because as soon... Okay, this is incredible. I have just obtained the story. Okay, here we go. So, I think I was almost spot on with my guess. Did I say $1.3 million?
Yeah, I think so.
It was $1.4 million was the price of Banksy's artwork, Girl with a Balloon. As soon as the auctioneer dropped the gavel, something unexpected happened. A beeping alarm went off. Beep, beep, beep. And the frame began eating the painting.
Wow.
Spitting half of it out the bottom in what may be the first instance of a self-destructing painting.
Wow.
That's unbelievable. We got to include a video of that.
I will.
Can you imagine? What I would like to know is did the person get their money back?
Well, I guess if they hadn't handed it over yet.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, you've got to deliver the goods. It still works as a publicity thing for sure, but
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like I think Banksy is someone I admire.
Right.
I mean, he's a great guy. I've spoken to him.
Yeah, you and Banksy go way back.
Nah, just kidding. I am Banksy.
Right, you could be.
We should start that.
Yeah.
I am actually Banksy.
Right, you are heading over to the UK regularly to do
if anyone's
graffiti
wondered,
painting.
everyone's wondered why I've been. No one knows where I am half the time.
That's why you've got paint on your hands today. Yeah, but that anonymity is a story in and of itself. You know, when somebody you don't know who they are, and especially today where you can go online and find everything and anything about somebody. And I'm really laughing because of that time I tracked that guy down.
That was the most amazing story ever. I can't believe. I don't know how you did that. That was insane.
It took a couple of days and a lot of persistence.
That was amazing.
I got him in the end. But yeah.
You really need to be hired for those skills. Like, for real.
Yeah. Well, one of my friends is studying IT at uni, and it's like all the hacking sort of security side of things. And some of the cases they look at, I think there's like a group in the US, a group of just everyday citizens or even teenagers or whatever, and they have these like phenomenal sort of hacking skills or researching skills, and they've been like digging up like cold cases and stuff and solving them, and then like sending the police like all the information as to this is what's happened, this is where this person is, this is why, and it's like this amazing group. I can't remember the name of it, but I think there's a documentary on them as well. Wow. And they'll get like missing persons cases.
That's what I want to do when I'm retired. Stuff like that. Yeah. Like, how amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So people that have these awesome skills, and they don't get paid or anything, but they're, it's like a group effort. Like they'll get a missing person and they'll put it to the group, and they're like, this is who we're trying to find, this is the information that's available, and then they'll track them down. And it's like, oh, they're living in Venezuela or something. Yeah, for sure.
We should try find one of those people and get them on the podcast.
Yeah. Have you heard of Shia LaBeouf's Capture the Flag thing?
No.
Oh, this is hilarious. You'll love this. This is related to what you were talking about.
Yeah.
So Shia LaBeouf, the actor, not a fan of Donald Trump. And when Donald Trump was in as president, Shia LaBeouf put up like this American flag, or it might have been the American flag, and it was a flag that said "He will not divide us," and he had like a 24-hour stream going, like pointing at this flag, and within 2 days, somebody had like stolen it. And,
oh, really?
Yeah. And they replaced it with Peppy the Frog or Keki the Frog or whatever, this silly meme flag.
Yeah.
And so he did another one, and it was a live stream. It was 24/7, and it was like the camera was on the ground looking up the top, and there was a flagpole. The only thing you could see was the flagpole and the sky.
Yeah.
And these people grew on the internet, just found each other. Like I was on Reddit or something, and they're like, we got to figure out where this is, because they hated Shia LaBeouf or they just wanted it to be funny or whatever.
Yeah.
And they figured out by the weather patterns of
the weather. I was gonna say, how would you? I thought they would be Googling flagpoles of America.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. So
the weather is quite a smart way to do it.
It was. So they would be like, okay, well, the sun just came up, because it was a live stream.
Yeah.
Sun's just come up. So it's got to be in this part of the country. And it was, they found it, they tracked it down. It was in some field somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And it was like, these guys somebody who lived near there was got in their truck, and they were driving around and just honking the horn until you could hear the horn on the live stream.
Oh,
they're like, we can hear you. You're close. And so they found it, and then brought his flag down, put the Peppy the Frog thing. And this went on and on. It went for about 7 rounds. It's on YouTube. It's hilarious. And at one point,
that's insane.
Yeah.
Man.
So he kept moving it, and trying to make it so people couldn't figure out where it was.
Yeah.
And people kept figuring it out. And he had it in the UK at one point, and it was on top of a building, a nondescript building.
Oh my Lord.
They got a drone with a flamethrower, and they flew the drone and burnt the flag.
Are you serious? That's insane.
Yeah. And so he did the final one that he did. It was literally in a room. And it was just, this is the level he had to go to. It was in a room, and all you could see was the flag
insane.
taped to the wall.
Yeah.
They still figured it out. I think it was in the UK again, and they figured it out by, you could slightly see the light from the window in the corner.
All he needed was was a black room,
Yeah.
like a dark room, like
Yeah.
a photography studio.
Yeah, and so like they figured out from just where the light would when it would start and when it would move, like the pattern
That's
of
insane.
sunlight.
That is persistence.
Yeah.
Imagine how annoyed you'd be as Shia LaBeouf. Like, just leave
This is what
Shia
makes me so
LaBeouf
happy
alone.
about it. It's so funny because he was like trying, you could see him getting angry. They found it again. And he's like trying to come up with ways to make it so that they couldn't get rid of it. And yeah, so he did the last one he did, which I don't know if it's still up there now, but it
Sounds
was
like the stalker who keeps stalking my stories on fake
Oh,
accounts. Anyway, yeah, come on.
yeah. So it's in a room. And they still found it. And so at night, they used to shine torches from the street. And so you would see the light from the torch on the stream. Like, we know that your flag's in there, but we're not going to break into your house. Yeah, so good.
Oh my god. And like, oh my god, I just can't get over that. That's
Yeah.
insane.
So, in terms of, because people were relying on each other's information and knowledge, and they were working on a task together that they, all had a common interest
Great
in.
teamwork,
Yeah.
though. Like, really good teamwork. Like, imagine putting those powers to good use. Like,
Yeah.
that team in America would love to
Exactly.
would love to speak to one of them on the podcast.
Yeah.
To do that, I think that's a great example of human teamwork.
Yeah,
And
for
that's,
sure.
Imagine working in a team like that. Imagine
Yeah.
being a teammate and something like that. That's amazing.
Yeah, because people would have different skills that all combine to get the result, and it's like maybe this person knew about weather patterns, and it was
Yeah.
like they were able to give the information somebody else wouldn't have had to be able to go, oh, okay, well, I'm near there, so I can drive and honk the horn, and then it's like this collaboration of skills
That's incredible.
found the result, and the result was just to be silly and to put up a flag of a frog, but. I love the drone with the
The drone with
the
the flame.
flamethrower.
We're gonna have to. We need to see
Yeah,
some
so-
footage of
so
the drone,
funny. So
drone
funny.
with the flamethrower.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's been a fabulous podcast. We've spoken about many different things. We've spoken about Antarctica.
Mm-hmm.
We may indeed have a daily combat podcast one day in Antarctica.
Wow.
Why not?
Sure.
Might
Tomorrow.
as well. Not tomorrow. It's a travel time, COVID restrictions.
Right.
But no, I wouldn't mind going to Antarctica one day.
Yeah.
I'm going to just say this before we wrap up. Like, if we're going to Antarctica, do something like walk across it. Don't just go to Antarctica. Like, I know a lady who went to Antarctica and she was part of a marriage ceremony by chance. Like, some people decided to get married on her boat and they got married.
Okay.
There were penguins about or something. They got married on it. Like, imagine having your marriage on Antarctica. That's what this couple did. And she
Wow.
was a part of that. Like, do something as well.
Yeah.
Like, don't just, like, imagine if you say, like, yeah, I went to Antarctica. Yeah, it's cool. But imagine if you said, like, I went to Antarctica and I ran across it.
Yeah.
Or I walked across it.
Yeah, or did something that you went
I
there
walked
for.
across- I
just hang
love
out
the-
in the station playing
Yeah,
Nintendo.
I sauntered
Sauntered.
across Antarctica.
Mickey rocked.
Yeah, I'm Mickey walked through 20 Ks on Antarctica. They know what I'm saying. So that's why I'm saying, like, has there been a podcast recorded in Antarctica? We
I
could
don't
be
know.
the first.
Maybe. That's
We could put a
that's
flag
goal.
up of a frog.
We could.
We also
of a
spoke-
land shark.
Of a land shark. Oof. I mean, there are none there. It's too cold for them to survive.
Right. It
there
is.
wouldn't be any there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are ice sharks there.
There are ice sharks. So
Different breed.
I don't believe any government has claimed ice sharks.
No. You could be the first. You can start your new government, your own Isabella government.
In fact, I'm going to take over Antarctica.
Okay.
The new territory of Isabella.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, no worries. All right. Well, we will wrap it up there. So thank you, everybody, for listening. It's the Daily Combat Podcast. Hollywood Matt Connolly and sporting polymath, turned boxer, Olympic hopeful, Mickey Rourke, Isabella Rossitano.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be here. I'm really happy to be back. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and can't wait for the next podcast. Stay tuned.
All right.
Woo. Merry Christmas, everyone. We
Yeah,
hope
Merry
you enjoyed
Christmas.
the Christmas special. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Keep combating.
All right.